Yeah, do it. Get involved. When I talk to alumni, and this is true of myself, I mean, my biggest regret is not doing more. I should have joined more clubs and gone to more events. And there's a lot going on, I think even more than when I was in school. And a lot of alumni reiterate this same thing.
Hey Wildcats, my name is Nicole Camacho, and you're listening to UAZ Podcast. Today, we have Mr. Jeff Winkelman joining us today. Jeff earned his bachelor's in Anthropology from the U of A and his master's degree in history from ASU. With 20 years of experience in K-12 education and college counseling, Jeff began his career at the U of A in 2021, supporting MBA and other master's students at the Eller College of Management. 2 years ago, he joined the School of Government Policy as the Assistant Director of Career Development and Community Engagements. Jeff's focus is empowering students with the skills they need to succeed in the job market while fostering relationships built on trust and mutual respect. Today, we're sitting down with Jeff to explore career development for college students here at the U of A. Hey Wildcats, my name is Nicole Camacho. Welcome to UAZ Podcast. I'm here with Rebecca Ursule, the co-host for this episode. We're here with our very special guest, Jeff Winkelman. Thank you for joining us. Please introduce yourself and tell us what you do as an assistant director.
Thank you for having me. Jeff Winkelman, Assistant Director of Career Development for the School of Government and Public Policy. And so what I do is try to give students opportunities and teach them the skills necessary for finding employment now and in the future. I also do some community and alumni engagement, mostly with the goal of helping students.
Thank you so much for joining us and inspiring students here at the U of A. So we did some research before coming and talking to you, and we noticed that you majored in anthropology and history. What did you consider when choosing those majors?
I wasn't considering a lot. I was not probably the sharpest freshman on campus, and my parents told me to just find something I was interested in, so I happened to just take an anthropology class to fulfill a general ed requirement, and I found it absolutely fascinating, and so I just went with it. I wasn't really thinking about careers afterwards. I just thought it was an interesting major, and I loved it. It was great professors. It was a great department, still is. Learned a lot, and so that was my undergrad major. After graduation, I actually fell into teaching almost unintentionally, and after a few years, I found myself surrounded by other teachers that had masters and PhDs, and I thought, I need to up my game and challenge my students more. I was also thinking about teaching overseas, which requires a master's degree, and so again, following something I was interested in, decided to pursue a master's in history, which I did, and enjoyed it a lot, even though it's not directly applicable to what I do on a day-to-day basis. It is helpful in just understanding the world, but also building relationships and communicating with people. It's been a good foundation.
You mentioned that you were a teacher. What grades were you teaching?
I've taught a lot of different subjects and grades, mostly high school, mostly in the social sciences, history, government, a little bit of science, and a few random classes here and there.
I think working with teenagers is very challenging. So was there a challenge while working with high schoolers?
There were a lot of challenges. I think a lot of the challenges are external, dealing with administration, dealing with parents, trying to find ways to motivate students when they're not motivated. That can be very difficult. Managing the stress of students and parents can be difficult. But fortunately, I didn't have any wildly terrible experiences. Most of the students and parents were great, but it's always a challenge.
It's truly an honor to have you with us here at the UAZ podcast. And like you said earlier, working with young people is always a challenge, but I also love the energy they bring to it. But I think also the other main challenge is that most of them are really like, they want to go to school, but again, they really don't know why they are going to school. And then they have these questions of who even invented education, you know? At some point, they're like, I don't have any more energy. And so you as a teacher, you have kind of like to cultivate that energy to show them that this is what you're supposed to do. And I think that's really a challenging situation to be in. And so here at the University of Arizona, we really love the work that you're doing. And that's why we thought you could be one of our greatest guests. And one thing is that many students find like networking intimidating. How do you encourage them to approach it in a way that feels authentic and helps build real relationships in the long run?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Networking can be difficult, especially for students that are more introverted, but it's really an important part of not just career development, but I think human development. The term networking itself, I sometimes have issues with. I think it can have a negative connotation, and people feel like you're trying to get something, or it's nefarious, or it's manipulative, and it shouldn't be that. All right. So what I try to teach students is really just relationship building, and remember that it goes both ways. That students have a lot to offer alumni or anybody else that they're connecting with. Right. Their point of view, their enthusiasm, their connections with other talented candidates. So keeping that in mind, that it's not a one-way street, is important. And I'll also say I encourage students to be uncomfortable. That's where we grow. And so it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be uncomfortable. And that's where we learn the most. The other thing I would say is it doesn't have to be super consequential. It's not like you have to impress this person so much that they give you a job. That's unrealistic. It's really just meeting people, and you don't have to have a huge conversation. Just ask questions. People tend to like to talk about themselves, and so just asking a few questions can really open people up. And the next time you cross paths, you'll have more to talk about. Oh, you were both at that event, right? So to not think of it as high stakes and just think of it as an opportunity to go meet people, learn some new things, enjoy a venue, enjoy food, something like that can take the edge off a little bit.
So we met Mr. Winkelman at a panel that he hosted here at the U of A. So do you want to talk more about that event?
Yeah, so that was an alumni panel focused on careers in public service. So being in the School of Government and Public Policy, most of our alumni go into some form of public service, or a lot of them do. And we have a ton of local alumni that are working in the city of Tucson, Oro Valley, Marana, all the local municipalities. And so I wanted to show the different paths that people could take and the different opportunities within government. A lot of people aren't aware of all the things that our government does for us and all the different departments they have. And so and our alumni are super engaged, and they're very willing to give back. I've noticed this in every school I've been in at the U of A. And so it was really a chance for students to, A, learn about the different positions and career paths that are available to them, and then B, to network and get to know the panelists. And the panelists were really generous, and some of them basically said, hey, get in touch, and there might be internship opportunities in our department. And so that's why we bring them in, and I think it was a good event. It was well attended.
So what role do you think career fairs, panels, and other events play in opening doors for students, and how can they make the most out of it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Number one is just showing up. Mm-hmm. Somebody said 90% of success is just showing up, right? So coming to events and putting yourself out there, the more people see you, the more they recognize you, that's number one. Number two, come prepared, right? Do some research, right? We share the panelists beforehand. We share who our community partners are at career fairs, so you can do some research and learn about what the organizations do, often what they're recruiting for. So that's very helpful to sort of have a plan going into it. And then keeping an open mind, right? Visiting not just with the organizations you're interested or the jobs you're interested, but looking at some others that you haven't heard of, because that might be an opportunity that's a better fit for what you want to do in the long run. And so keeping an open mind, showing up is going to probably help you in the long run.
Yeah, and I think really that is important. But like, do you have kind of like an impact survey that you have taken, because you've been working in this role for over 2 years? So are students who always attending these panels getting like a higher rate of success or no?
Wow, this is getting intense. So it's an important question, and it's actually one of the biggest challenges of my job, is really quantifying the impact that we have. Mm-hmm. We know anecdotally, so students will do write-ups sometimes. So sometimes they'll get extra credit, or they have to attend a certain number of events for a class, and then they do write-ups, and they say nice things. And I've heard from students that have attended that we know they get their jobs or they get their internship because they attended an event. The problem is I think students are over-surveyed. Our rate of return on surveys is pretty low, so it's really hard to get a very clear picture of the impact that we're having. And it's one of my greater challenges, and something I'm continually working at getting a better idea.
Yeah, but I'll say overall they're impactful because I've attended a couple of them. I started since last semester, and they're really impactful for sure.
Thank you.
So when you talk about cultivating a personal brand, what does that mean for students who are just starting to build their professional identity? Yeah,
personal brand. Again, it's one of those terms that maybe gets thrown around, and we think of, I don't know, social media influencers or professional athletes, but we all have sort of a personal brand that, whether we realize it or not. I'm going to have to give a shout out to Dr. Lehman Benson. He gives a great lecture on this if you ever get a chance to see him. He's a vice president at the university and a professor at Eller. And so I'm going to try to paraphrase some of the things that he talks about, but essentially people are going to judge us whether we like it or not, right? Based on how we look, based on how we behave, based on what we post online. And it's just important to be aware of that, and that this reputation can follow you for a long time. And so being intentional about how you behave, how you treat others is important, and it has long-term effects. And so it takes very little to just be nice to people, and the return on investment is large. And so I wasn't really aware of this, wasn't thinking about this when I was in college. I think we're sometimes taught that we have a society based purely on merit, and that's not always the case. It's more complicated than that. As my father-in-law used to say, an ounce of perception is worth a pound of performance. And so sometimes just looking the part helps you get to that next stage.
Yeah, and I think it's because when we are college students, we are still very young, and we don't know what we're going to become in the future, because you might be doing political science, but you don't know if you're going to become a president one day. It's like a few years down the road. And so like building your professional identity is really important, because you just never know what you're going to become in the future.
So the job market is really hard to get into, especially as students, like you said. Do you have any strategies or tips for students who are willing to go into the job market, and how to stay motivated into that?
Yeah, applying for jobs is not fun. And so that's part of my position, is to try to make it more efficient, right? Try to make it a little bit easier. And it's hard for everybody, and sometimes even more so for successful students that aren't used to rejection, aren't used to failure. When you apply for jobs, you're going to get rejections, right? And it's important for students to be realistic about what jobs they are eligible for, and to know that they're not going to get everything. And so I tell students to approach applying for a job like a craft. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and to try to celebrate the little wins, right? If you get 2-3 interviews but you didn't get a job, that's still really successful. It means your resume's good, right? People think you can do the job. That's why they're interviewing you. So that's already an accomplishment. And so I would, try to celebrate the little wins. Try not to get discouraged. Really, perseverance is important, right? You can get 50 rejections. All you need is one acceptance to do it. And so trying to focus on that will help. It's a brutal job market out there. The other thing I'll say is getting experience. So being open-minded, doing an internship, these things will help, right? Education's great, but experience tends to hold stronger weight. So any chance you can get, being open-minded, not being super selective, right? Being realistic. You're probably not going to make six figures right out of college. If you are, you're probably expected to work 60 to 80 hours a week. So understanding what's there. And so that's another thing I teach is to look early. Look at job descriptions. Look at what skills they're looking for. Look at what the pay is. Look at alumni with jobs you want to get and see what career path they took to get there. Right? And it's typically not a straight line. It's often a zigzag. They started in political science, but then they fell into finance or something else, right? It's pretty random. And so embracing that randomness, there's always a little bit of luck when I talk to alumni and how they got to where they are. And so embrace that. If there's an opportunity and you might not think you like it, try it out. Doesn't need to be forever.
And I also like also being flexible to it, so like embracing those new opportunities and being flexible. Because like I said, we evolve over time and we keep on learning about our strengths and realizing what our passions are and where like our focus are in life as we grow as well. So thank you really for coming to our podcast. We're coming to one of our last questions. When I was asking you earlier about your anthropology background in history plus education, I know this is really cool and like how you transition it to being an assistant director here at the University of Arizona. And this is like, it's always happened to most people, but like they start in something and then at the end of the day, they change into something else. So why is it so important for students to really stay open to unexpected opportunities along the way?
Yeah, and I appreciate you emphasizing that point. As you say, our interests and our passions change over time, and society changes, and what's available to us changes. So I'll say in my own career, I had an opportunity to teach math, and I'm an anthropology history person. I was not excited about it. I ended up loving it. It was, sort of surprised me, but I really enjoyed teaching math. Even when I transitioned from teaching into more of a counseling role, I was skeptical at first, but it was a new challenge. I found it really interesting, and even my first job at the university was at a business school. I have no background in business. I was absolutely terrified, and again, I loved it. It was so different. It was so interesting. The people were great, and so you never know what you're going to like and what's going to happen. So keeping an open mind, being flexible is a strength in itself. Being adaptable is a strength in itself, and I think that's where my undergraduate degree especially has helped me. I think it doesn't matter what degree you have. If you graduate college, you know how to learn, you know how to think somewhat critically, at least you should. You should know how to write and communicate clearly, and those things are transferable to any and every industry. And so knowing that and being confident in your ability to learn new skills and to pivot into a different career just opens up more opportunities. Yeah, do it. Get involved. When I talk to alumni, and this is true of myself, my biggest regret is not doing more. Right? I should have joined the marching band while I was here. Why didn't I do that? I should have joined more clubs and gone to more events. And there's a lot going on, I think even more than when I was in school. And a lot of alumni reiterate this same thing, that I should have done more. I wish there were alumni panels like this when I was in college, that kind of thing. And so getting outside your comfort zone, trying something new, right? Even if you don't play chess, join the chess club. I don't know. You just never know where it's going to lead. And it's low risk, high reward. If you don't like it, you can just quit, right? It's not super consequential. So, yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah, we have had this from several guests coming from the community mostly, and they kept on saying that the key is like getting involved because they wish to. They had gotten involved in so many clubs and participation in so many panels as well, because that could have opened so many doors for them. They're really working and helping the community, but if they had gotten involved, they could have opened so many doors for themselves and other opportunities. And also we have over 500 plus clubs here at the University of Arizona. Do you have any in mind that like helps out students the most, or any that you want to shout out to?
Well, you bring up a good point, and the university knows they've done studies. Students that are involved with clubs have higher graduation rates by a significant percentage. So I think building community and understanding that you belong can go a long way. In the School of Government and Public Policy, we actually work closely with a couple different clubs. There's a pre-law society and a criminal justice club. And they're both active. They bring in guest speakers and they'll do site visits and other things. So I'll give a shout out to those two clubs.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on and inspiring students who are feeling vulnerable from the job market.
My pleasure. And not just clubs, but take advantage of the SECD career space on campus, because they have a lot of great resources as well and they can help you. So don't be afraid to ask. That's what we're here for.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.